Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Joseph Novichkov, Senior Trading Manager with GDM. Welcome to today's webinar. It's the first webinar for the month of March. One, of course, thing that we need to also mention was the end of our demo contest. It was until last Friday, most accurately until 19th of March, which was on Sunday actually, with the beginning of the new session of the week. Speaking of contests, of course, you can check regularly on our website at GDMFX.com for any new contests or any promotions that you might be interested in. So far, what we have talked about on our last webinar, there were two Forex trading strategies, and there were actually two binary option strategies. This month will be no different. We will also take a look at two strategies which are mostly intended to cover the spot market, and two that are mostly suitable for the binary options strategies. However, as you all know already, as we've been mentioning during the long years of experience and of course the long years of educational process for our partners and clients, and of course into our webinars, that usually binary option systems based on technical setup are actually firstly created to work on the spot market. So in other words, whatever system that is suitable for binary options, it could be also suitable for a spot market, with of course a few adjustments. This month, however, again, we will take a look at 4 individual webinars. Some of them will actually include more than one system, depending on our time availability, and of course, depending on the customers and of course the attendees' interests, based on their questions that we usually receive at webinar@gdmfx.com, the email address, and also at our telephone lines, which you can find the numbers directly in our website, gdmfx.com, or whatever questions you might have, you can also attend to our chat department, our support department, with the chat on our website on the bottom right corner. Now, today's system would be one of our best performing scalping trading systems, which of course focuses to time frames up to 30 minutes. I will show you which would be my most let's say productive time frame, and the one that I actually prefer to trade with, that is the 15-minute chart. Of course, we will move through the 5 minutes, 15 minutes, and 30-minute chart. We will of course discard the 1-minute chart as to the volatility during the hours of our webinars, which are between which are within the European session, and of course pre-US session trading as well, which could be in most cases extremely volatile. So that's why we're going to focus in rather larger time frames. However, the system at hand today is one of our, as we mentioned, best performing scalper systems, but it's also, let's say, revised type of system. So we've been using it before. However, the configuration today is due to the fact that the system was lacking performance in the past few months. So we had to readjust these indicators which were lagging behind, and the signals that they were sending were not so frequent, or let's say unsustainable into a profit potential in the future. So today we're going to take a look at indicators which are very familiar to all of us, starting with the 200 exponential moving average, which is a must to all of the charts and all traders around. That's why I'll usually mark it with red, because it resembles much better on my foreground, which is rather grayish, something like that. The configuration you have in front of you is best fitted to, let's say, my eyesight, so you can actually choose anything else that it's better for you. You know, brighter colors are far more tiring to watch in a continuous way. You can make mistakes. So by my preparation, I would do something slightly darker, so I can stay in front of the chart for a longer term period, so I can make my profits. The second interesting fact here is the Bollinger Bands, which right now we're going to use a period of 10, or you can also use a period of 9 as well. That makes a little difference. I'm marking it with white, and of course the application is for close. Going to make it a little bit thicker so we can see that quite clearly. You can see the crossover between both, this entailment of the market. We're looking at a 5-minute euro-dollar chart, and of course the downward direction of roughly around 15 pips, which of course on a 5-minute chart is $150, with the means of about 7 sessions. That's about 35 minutes. So it's still a scalping system. You can always choose to close on the next candlestick low, or in the next few candlesticks low. I would of course rely mostly on my average directional movement index, which of course I'm going to use today. However, the period today is going to be 50, based on the fact that the previous 28 period of the average directional movement index was not performing as we would like it to. However, today we're mostly using the average directional movement index line mostly for an orientation of the strength of the volatility. And as we can see on this crossover here, where is actually our entry signal on the crossover of the positive and negative directional movement index. Let me show you. Plus DI and minus DI is positive directional index and negative directional index. The crossover here, ladies and gentlemen, occurs far before the crossover of the moving averages. So it's actually an early index of what is to come. Of course, more traders hear out on my experience when I speak to them on a daily basis. They're fearing the crossover of the moving averages, that it actually happens too far away, and based on that, they cannot rely on any particular signal. That's why we need, in addition, something to signal first before we actually have a confirmation here. So despite the fact that we have the Bollinger Bands, which can actually tell us the current range, of course in some cases we can use a deviation of 2, but here we can use a deviation of 3 to have by far the widest range of possibilities that we need. Because we don't really use the Bollinger Bands as an exit, we're mostly using the Bollinger Bands as a guidance of our current trading conditions. So if in 66% of the cases, which is the deviation of 3, which deviation of 2 only grants a 33% of the cases of the market closings, the 66% we can actually rely on the fact that when the market moves out of the Bollinger Bands, let's say here for example, we have the candlestick moving with a shadow outside and closing outside of the Bollinger Bands, let's say like this. Okay, now if you have a case like this one, most likely in the next case scenario the market is going to move within the Bollinger Bands and even move higher. In this case, our exit is straight over here when the market moves out of the market. This is the exception of the system. The other case is of course when the market touches the upper level here of our level of 27, which is of course very important. We have a level of 29 as you can see here, but this is for a longer term periods like the 30-minute chart, for example. We can use that for 15-minute chart in some exceptions. However, the level of 29 could be mostly accurately used in terms of 30-minute chart, where you can transform your scalping system into mostly a swinging type system, okay, to another swing high or another swing low. In this way, here it's going to be a second swing low, which is over here, and it's usually 2 times when the market tests current levels of 27 before it actually reverses to the downside. In some cases, when the market nearly touches the 27 level, of course, and straightforward goes back down to the 20 level, that means that the direction is not sustained. But if it fails for a second time, that is actually 90% certain that the market will move forward to the opposite direction, which is up in this case. Now, if you just imagine that we've been, let me just clear that out for a second. Now, if you imagine that we have a condition like this one, of course, multiple sessions prove that scalping systems will have, of course, more than 10 or 20, maybe 30 positions a day. It really depends on how frequent the market gives you an opportunity, or the ADX actually signals for such an opportunity. Crossovers, you can see they occur quite often, like these conditions here. You have another one here, you have another one here. Usually, these crossovers signal for a direction. Now, if the negative directional index points to the upside, the market is going down. And vice versa, if the average directional movement index positive directional movement index is pointing to the upside, this is an up move of the market. So whichever directional movement index is pointing to the upside is telling you where the market is going, whether it's up or down. If the red one is going up, that means that you have a bearish direction or downward direction. If the green one is going up, you have a bullish direction and the market is going up. Now, having this in mind, we have our crossover here. This is one of the cases that we're going to take a look at. Roughly, it happens somewhere on the crossover of the price action or the candles below our 9-period moving average. The fact that we're very close to the 200 exponential, which is by far the most important moving average ever, that's why I'm going to mark it with a star or with an attention mark, whatever you want to mark it. It's very important. Now, if the price is very close to it, or it's at it, or it's breaking it, then you need to wait for a confirmation, which could occur in cases like this, which is a bounce off of the small moving average that is actually pointing to a direction which is sustainable. And your exit comes somewhere within those two candles, which is actually a piercing pattern which points to a reverse in our direction, and in any case it points to a 100% retracement in the near term. So don't be too greedy within scalping systems. You have to take your exits really quick. You have to be cautious because the market can turn against you very quickly. Given the fact that we're trading on a small time frame, we can roughly cross the 200 exponential moving average several times a day. So also it's a very strong support or resistance level. Therefore, a case like this one here is also proving that our system works pretty well, because a bounce off of this gives a direction to the market which is stronger, and with a break of the small period moving average we can enter the market and close when the market comes within touch range or at or above the 27 level. Now, don't think that the market would not touch this level. Sooner or later it will. However, it really depends on how quickly that would happen. Now, if you can see here, we have a direction, bearish direction, happening here, roughly somewhere around this dodgy systems here, okay? Now, when the market moves below the 2 moving averages, we even have a crossover here. Our exit should happen somewhere within the midst of these candles. Now, how to find out whether this is the right exit? Well, this is one of the cases where the system have its own exceptions now, given the fact that it's a scalping system. The risk on the market is relatively higher than normal. So the next time the market starts closing relatively close or at, or starts hovering around the small period moving average, and when you start seeing this turnaround towards the 200 exponential, you can actually exit the market. Or what I would choose, whatever the conditions are, I would definitely exit on the next crossover, whatever crossover it is. And in this case, it happens somewhere around here. I'm going to take the crosshair now and measure all of these cases that we've been talking about. You can see the crossover happens roughly around the mark that I mentioned, or here the price is relatively the same. Here the price is relatively the same. However, the untrained eye would actually prefer to wait for a case like this one, a reverse crossover. And you can see for yourself, from here to the entry, we have roughly around 78 pips. Now on a one lot, that's about what, $80 for roughly 27 sessions. Now this is one of the cases, 27 sessions. This is roughly around so far about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, if I'm not mistaken. It's roughly 135 minutes, which makes it, yeah, a little less than 2.5 hours, to be precise. Given the fact that in 2 hours you can make roughly that much, you do understand that when it comes to scalping, the amount of pips is smaller than usual. Therefore, the amount of lot size should be greater. So instead of using one lot, you can use 10 lots. Gain $800 on this move. Same case scenario here, for example. You can also exit on the next crossover, which is somewhere around here. You can roughly gain about the same amount of pips for roughly around the same amount of time. It's about 20 candles. So yeah, just about 2 hours time. You see, in every 2 hours, if you manage to make roughly about $700 to $900, well, I'm pretty sure that at the end of the day, when you walk out with about $3,000 to $5,000, that would be a pretty good paycheck. Of course, to trade with 10 lots, you need to have at least $15,000 account. But for people that cannot afford themselves to trade with such an amount, you can trade with one lot with $1,500 and still, at the end of the day, emerge with more than 30 to 40% return on investment for one day. How good is that? Now, for one day, if you walk out with that amount of money, with a system that can give you an accurate readings for market direction and entries, and also sustained profitability for a long period of time, well, at the end of the month, I'm pretty sure you can actually make 10 times the amount of money that you actually had in the original. A lot of people actually remain skeptical about the speculation and the market conditions that can deliver such a particular case scenarios. Therefore, I'm going to give you another example. Even we're going to move, let me just go for the templates. I'm just going to call it what, Scalping 1, for example. Now we're going to move to something much more volatile. We're looking at a gold chart, 5-minute chart. Scalping 1 gives us the same opportunity. You can see the market volatility here. Okay, I still see that there is something previous, so just excuse me for a moment. I have to take care of this. There's something that I've been doing before, so I'm going to take just a few seconds. There you go. Same case conditions, ladies and gentlemen. We have multiple crossovers. Let me just stretch this a little bit more so you can see that. Case scenario 1, we have a crossover here. The price is obviously aiming for the 200 exponential, which is a very strong support or resistance, which can tell us that whatever this condition is telling us, the 200 exponential is with higher priority. So if our entry was roughly around here, that's $1.09, let's say $2. It's about 200 pips. Well, 200 pips with one lot is $2,000. Or roughly said, if it's much better for you to, you know, talking about baby pips, that means $1.50 or $2 is $200 on a profit for roughly 7 sessions or about 35 minutes. So if you are trading with one lot, you have already made 1/3 of your account. So that's about 30% of what you've actually invested. So if you can do that again and again and again in a case scenario like this one, you have a crossover here. Despite the fact that you have a crossover here, which is telling you that the market is going to go up, again, it's a preset telling you that it's going to go up, then it's telling you it's going to go down, but it's obvious that the market is moving sideways. So even if you had a few positions here, which you can only pay the spread before you open a position that gives you roughly $3, $4, $3.50 with one lot, again, that's $340 of profit. And it's pretty much the same amount of time. Let's measure 7 sessions, $350 of profit. Of course, when I mentioned that the exits should happen either on the level of 27 or either on the next crossover here, you can see for yourself that 2 times the market have tried to breach one and the same level and it fails. So if I'm a smart trader, I would actually consider booking my profits roughly around here. It's pretty much the same price, $3.50, before the market reverses to the other side and actually receive another signal which you can profit from, and that's the one we spoke earlier. Now, I still understand that some people could be skeptical about this. So we have a relatively huge range on a 5-minute chart. Speaking of volatile units, we can always turn to a higher time frame. Higher time frame allows us, especially with this setup, to be a little bit more calm in our entries and exits. Now you see how less the crossovers are. So now on a 15-minute chart, you can actually turn this system not only to a scalping system, but to a swing system. So when your crossover occurs here, and you even have a confirmation between the 2 moving averages, your exit comes roughly around here. That's $7.50 for 16 sessions. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can make $760 on a lot for 16 sessions, or that's roughly an hour and 10 minutes, and then book this profit in just 1 hour, 1 hour of trading, and then have the same conditions here for a downward direction, and on the next crossover you can even book $1 of profit, which can actually allow you to add another 100, 120, let's say 100, give or take the spread. Why not? I would do it. Same case scenario, you can see the clear direction to the downside from the Bollinger Bands, the expansion of it. The crossover here allows you to go to the 200 exponential, roughly $4 of profit, $400 in about 5 to 10 minutes. So, and this is in only how much? Day and a half? So in about a day and a half, you actually, 2 positions, 15-minute chart, you have doubled your account, 2 days. Now, just imagine what you can do with the rest of the 18 days of the trading month. Well, if you can double your account every day, I would pretty much trade this way. However, you should not consider this system as a trading advice, first of all. My job here is to make your life easier. If I can offer something that it's useful, of course I wouldn't expect you know, anyone to believe to what we do. However, you can always try it for yourself, try it on a demo account, see if it's working, and if it does, what stops you from using it? Again, the same condition here. We have a 15-minute chart. Price is going off the grid, off the 200 exponential, off the 9-period moving average, $2.50 before the drop, and the crossover, which gives you another $250. Case scenario number 3 or 4, I just lost the count, just before the crossover that occurs roughly around here, another $1.50. Even in a small move like this one, that's roughly sideways directions, you can still book profits, as you can see here on the crossover, that it's roughly $1, $100 within a few sessions. We have the same scenario here just before the crossover, $1.7. Let's call it $1, another $100. So 100, 100. Then you have 400. This is 600. Another 760. That's what makes 1160. Case scenario. Another one here, you see the crossover, then it goes, the crossover occurs roughly around here, the one that we just spoke about, 39 sessions, $570, which of course is for about 3.5 hours, roughly 3.5 hours. Now, even if I keep scrolling backwards, I would even get the same results. Case scenario, another one, roughly $1 on the crossover that occurs here. Another scenario over here, as you can see, bullish case, crossover, $2.6 on the crossover here. So it doesn't really matter how many times I keep going backwards and backwards. The case is going to be still the same. You see, this case also valid, crossover of the moving averages. The other crossover occurs way over here. That's looking at what was it, $24, $25 for 119 sessions. That makes you about $2,400. Let me just calculate this. My brain is switching off at this time of the day. So we're getting about 595 minutes, roughly around 9 hours. So in about 10 hours, 9 hours, 9.5 hours, that's about, what, 10 hours? Just about a day, you're getting $2,500. Well, even if even if I was skeptic, I would pretty much use the system the way it is. There you go, $250 again, $2.5 of range on gold. We have $250. But of course, if we use the 27 level, you're actually gaining $6 or 600 in about 5 sessions. That's 25 minutes. Whatever case scenario you take, of course, you would still have moments between the big drops and big gains. Scenarios like fake crossovers, which could eventually lead to open, close on flat, open, close on flat, and then gains. Okay, then open here, close relatively on flat on this crossover, then open here, close here on a relatively flat, or just pay the spread, it doesn't really matter. Against scenario here, and then you have another gain of roughly, what was that, already measured, sorry about that, so somewhere here to the next crossover, which is here, $4.7, $470. Now, whatever positions you have taken throughout this period of sideways direction, with a scalping system like this, ladies and gentlemen, you can not only be able to pay your commissions, you cannot only be able to pay the spreads on relatively flat positions, but you can always erase those negative sides of commissions and spreads, but always come on top when the market gives you an opportunity, and when, of course, the position matters. Another case scenario here, you can see how quickly the market gets into oversold conditions, and the market gets into 27 level of the negative directional movement index. So even if I keep going backwards, it's still going to be the same. That brings us to the beginning of March. You can see here, first week of March. So this is a pretty nice gain of roughly $9 that in 66 sessions, or was it here? Something like that. Okay, $8,000. That's $8, roughly $8,000 on one lot in about 70 sessions. So please, ladies and gentlemen, agree with me. Even if I switch to oil prices, you know, the commodities like oil. Let's go through it again. We have same case scenario here. There we go. Crossover. Prices below the 200. Drops below this one. The next crossover occurs here. This is $4 of change. That's $4,000, ladies and gentlemen. 40 cents of change. That's making it about $400 of profit here. Roughly flat case scenario here. Another opportunity on the crossover on this doji, and still right now you would be in a profit of roughly around $100 of running profit. So even if we go to any conditions so far, we wouldn't care, roughly, because the market is still going to give us the same case scenario here, $160 again. Even if the scenario goes way towards here somewhere, so we're going to 260. It also depends on how quickly you want to book your profits. It depends on whether you want to rely on timing. This is another $220 in about 65 sessions. But of course, given the fact that oil market was extremely moving to the sidelines for a very long time before it made actually these drops, okay, in which of course we were obvious profits here. That's today. That's 60 cents of market move. That actually gives us $600 for now, and we're even into the roughly $700 if we have already booked that profit, given the fact that it has occurred a crossover before that. Same case scenario here, as we mentioned earlier, another $200. Sorry, I switched this one off so we can see. And crossover here, given the fact that oil prices were quite negative for a very long amount of time, until the 200, this 200 exponential, we got $300 of profit. The continuation from here gives us another $700 or 70 cents. So whatever we do, we're still on the positive side of the market. We can see here the case scenario in which a gap occurs. You can see the huge gap on 15 minutes. That's 70 pips. That's over the weekend. Well, if you are trading with a system that it's allowing you to scalp the market, I'm pretty sure you're not going to leave your positions over the weekend and start on a clean sheet. So I hope you understand the rules. I hope you understand what I'm trying to do here with the revised system. For those that have additional questions, of course, I've mentioned earlier in the session how that can happen. Call our telephone numbers. If you cannot find them, go to our website, GDMFX.com. And even if you want, you can chat with our support department. A quick chat is going to pop up from the bottom right corner. And of course, you can always drop us an email at webinar@gdmfx.com. So that's all about it today. On Friday, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about a counter trend trading system, which is also revised, and that would be also a productive side of the market. However, you can always incorporate it with this particular system and trade conditions like this one, a drop here, and trade this one here. So don't miss any opportunity. You have a calculated profit of $270 plus another $100 plus another $400. So basically on this particular move of 13 sessions, or roughly said around 65 minutes or just a little over an hour, you're making profits close to $700 with these two combined systems. Well, that's only for those that can stay focused for the whole day. Well, me personally, if I have to use these systems, and I cannot trade more than 3 to 4 hours. It's very frustrating, especially on small time frames. So whatever that you do, And if you feel confused or you have other things to do, you just better drop the trading, go do whatever you want to do, and just get back when everything is clear. It's better instead of losing money. That's all about it today. Thank you very much for joining me. And of course, I'm going to see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. Thank you. Bye-bye.